So today I'm going to tell you about my favorite microbe, Akkermansia Muciniphila, and why I think the key to understanding and developing better colorectal cancer therapies could be hiding in its ability to do DNA gymnastics. So you may have never heard of Akkermansia Muciniphila before, but it's actually probably living inside of your gut right now. Akkermansia is one of the millions of microbes that live inside of our intestines. And while that might be a little bit alarming to realize that right now we're walking around basically as bags of microbes, these microbes in the community do really, really important things for human health. In fact, they help protect against invading pathogens, they provide nutrients, they also help our immune system learn what's foreign and what is good. And recently, Akkermansia has become highlighted as being potentially a very, very beneficial microbe in the context of human health. We don't quite understand yet how it does that. And so one really fascinating thing about Akkermansia is where it lives inside the intestine. So right now I'm showing a cross-section of the human colon. So kind of think of the colon as if it's a long tube. Most microbes in your colon live inside the center. This is where all of your food and other waste products pass through. However, Akkermansia is slightly unique in that it lives much, much closer to human tissue than the other microbes do. And there's a few reasons why this is important. One, anything that Akkermansia does could be in higher concentration directly next to the human body, and so it might have an outsized impact compared to other microbes. And two, Akkermansia is really unique because it's able to get this close. This is not something that most microbes can do. In fact, its ability to live in this mucus layer that covers our cells helps give it its name. So Muciniphila, mucin lover. And also by living here, one of the things that we found as a field so far is it's actually able to trigger this barrier and become much stronger. And this barrier is crucial for human health in that it helps protect our cells and our body from coming in contact with things that it shouldn't. So we understand that Akkermansia is really important because it's building up this barrier, it's keeping things away from our body, but we don't quite understand how. So my favorite thing about Akkermansia is this really bizarre things it does that I like to think of as DNA gymnastics, but they're really called invertons. So this all takes place inside of the cell. So what I'm showing you right now is just a small piece of the DNA. And basically what happens is you have these enzymes that come in, they cut out a piece of the DNA, excise it, flip it around, and then put it back inside the DNA in the same spot. And this seems really strange. If you think about the DNA in a cell, this encodes everything a cell needs to do, how to do it, when to do it, and the idea of cutting things out, flipping them around, and putting them back in seems like a really easy way to mess up the message. And in fact, in human cells, oftentimes these sort of flips can drive cancer. But Akkermansia is actually doing this in a very purposeful and directed way. And so as an example, to think about it this way, let's pretend that this piece of Akkermansia DNA encodes this sentence. It's always important to get stressed. So it's really important where this inverton is. In this case, it's right over here over the word stressed. So what happens is this gets cut out, flipped around, and reinserted. So instead of stressed, S-T-R-E-S-S-E-D, it is now desserts, D-E-S-S-E-R-T-S. So two very different meanings, but equally as important depending on the context. So in Akkermansia, these pieces of DNA oftentimes will code for regions that tell the bacteria what to put on its surface. So in this instance, when you have a piece of DNA like this, you get these different types of projections sticking off the bacteria. However, when an inverton comes along, flips it, you now get this different coding. And so thinking about bacteria, what they put on their surface is vitally important to how they interact with their environment. So thinking in particular about Akkermansia, what it's on its surface helps it adhere to that mucin that's close to your intestine. Also, what we know from other microbes is these things that cover the surface can actually impact the immune system, and they can increase or decrease inflammation in the intestine. Another way to think about it is like this. If you were to go out and you wanted to put on different clothing, you'd be able to do this by flipping a piece of your DNA. However, there's certain contexts in which different clothing is more acceptable. So for instance, putting on a hazmat suit when there's a chemical spill could be really good. But if it's a first date, perhaps not the right option. So Akkermansia does these invertons all the time throughout its genome. And it does it more than any other microbe, which I've studied thousands of them, all the time. It's incredible. And what this means is that if you were just to grow Akkermansia in a test tube, you put in one bacterium, it's going to divide trillions and trillions of times. All of these invertons inside of the cells at different locations are flipping around, and then you end up getting a very mixed populations with different decorations. And so what I'm really interested in is understanding how these decorations help impact human health. Because we know that Akkermansia can be beneficial, but we don't quite understand how, but we know that the surface of the cell is vitally important for that. So what is the relationship between invertons and human health? And while I'm obsessed with invertons, I think I might be the only one so far. And the reason why I say that is because of this image. So this is a street called Inverton Road in Maryland. And in fact, if you were to Google image search Akkermansia and inverton, this is one of the top hits. So we have not looked at this yet, but we really, really should. So to tackle this problem, I'm going to use next generation sequencing technology, take advantage of language learning models and AI, use bioinformatic analyses, and then test our observations using molecular techniques. So today I told you about my favorite microbe, Akkermansia Muciniphila, and why I think its ability to do these DNA gymnastics could hold potential therapeutics, potential for developing and treating or even preventing colorectal cancer or other diseases that involve inflammation in the colon. And so while this is my favorite microbe, maybe it's now your favorite microbe as well.